I just want to go to Brindabella Christian College. We saw an article in the news yesterday about staff going to Fair Work. Can you tell me what actions the department has taken, either on its own or in concert with the ATO, to further investigate Brindabella for its non-payment of staff?
Sure. Thank you. Senator, I'll ask Ms Brighton. She's totally across this issue.
Thank you, Secretary. So, Senator, specifically on the non-payment of wages, if I go to that in the first instance, we were alerted on Sunday, this past Sunday, of the non-payment of wages reported for Brindabella Christian Education Limited staff. We contacted on Sunday Department of Employment. I reached out to my colleague, and then first thing Monday morning, officials from my department met with both Department of Employment Workplace Relations as well as the Fair Work Ombudsman about those concerns. We also wrote to the school about the non-payment of wages and particularly emphasised the importance of not only paying staff but also reminding the approved authority that their obligation was to ensure that the Australian government funding was spent on that which it has been provided for, which is not litigation matters, and that they should be prioritising the payment of their wages. So we wrote to the school on the Monday, we met with those agencies on the Monday, we've continued to engage with the Fair Work Ombudsman about those concerns. And we are also aware the ACT government have set up a hotline for students, families and staff in response. Since the ATO announcement was their winding up action was made public, we also have written to the school, and in writing to the school we have laid out our clear expectations that they would be providing supports to staff, students and their families during these really quite uncertain times.
All right, thank you. Does the department consider it a risk that it has a lack of oversight over private schools and whether they're meeting their obligations to staff, considering they're the majority public funder of that sector?
Senator, we have an expectation that every single non-government school and government school meets their obligations to their employees as they're required to do by law. Our Act and regulations is really quite express about the expectations about how Australian government recurrent funding will be used, and certainly salaries of staff is a priority in that.
I note that the principal of Brindabella has posted numerous times on social media calling the Canberra Times and other news outlets fake news. He's referred to Donald Trump and he's posted a really bizarre series of videos. Is the department comfortable with continuing to provide taxpayer money to an organisation like this? And I guess I say this in the context that a public school would never get away with that kind of behaviour.
Senator, can I just clarify? The principal's female. I think you're referring to the chair of the board.
Yes, my apologies.
Sorry.
Yes.
I was going to
thank you for the correction. Don't want to assert that someone's doing something they're not.
Sure.
Yes, Senator. So in 2021, the department made a decision in regards to the schools, or the approved authority is what we call them, the approved authority's fitness to receive Australian government funding. I think I've given testimony at this hearing previously about that. We then went to the AAT over that matter, and then in 2023 the AAT imposed a large range of specific conditions on the school. So our compliance action with the school has been going on for quite some time. I am aware from the media commentary that there has been concern raised about Australian government timing of its payments to the school and the school's ability to meet its obligations. The standard way we pay all non-government schools is we pay them 3 payments a year. We pay 50% of their funding in January, 25% of their funding in July and the balance in October. So that's the usual for the majority of matters in the country. In 2020, the approved authority, Brindabella's approved authority, we shifted them from that payment schedule of 3 times a year to quarterly. And then in 2022, we moved them to monthly. And so when the Australian Government pays a school its monthly, it takes its annual payment and it divides it by 12. So this particular entity, they're receiving the order of $10 million for their funding. So our last payment to them was on the 13th of February, and we paid just over $900,000.
Senator Pocock. Thank you, Chair. I was just want to follow up with some questions on Brindabella Christian College. You told Senator Allman-Payne that the department wrote to the school. Sorry, I'll wait for you. Told Senator Allman-Payne that the department wrote to the school. I'd like to know if there's been any contact from the Minister's Office or the department directly with staff and parents at the school about any or all of the events underway, ATO wind-up, staff non-payment. Has any advice been provided to staff and parents?
Senator, you're asking whether any advice has been provided by the Department of Education to staff and parents?
Yes.
We have asked the Brindabella board to reach out to the school community to reassure them and offer them the necessary supports to families, staff and community, as well as we've asked them to continue to prioritise learning. And then that's what we did the day the ATO winding up order was announced. Then we followed up with the board on Monday of this week after it became known to us about the non-payment of wages to reiterate our concerns, reiterate the position around use of Australian government funding, and reiterate that message of us requesting that the board reach out to the school community and offering them their support. Minister Clare has made it very clear to the department his expectation about the prioritising of learning and supports the school. So we have written to the school. We're also working with ACT Government, and as I said to Senator Allman-Payne, ACT Government have set up their phone line. It's not the department doesn't have a mechanism to be communicating directly with staff, hence why we went to the board and set out our very clear expectations of what they would be doing.
Are you satisfied that the board has done that? Have you seen communications to...
We've not been furnished with any communications, nor have we had a response from the board to that correspondence.
In that case, would it be possible to table the letter to the board, given that teachers and parents seem to not have received that information?
We can certainly take that on notice. And just for clarity, Senator, it was an email rather than
email. Email's fine, thank you. And you also told Senator Allman-Payne that you made a payment to the school in February. Can I confirm it was $900,000 on the 13th of February?
Yeah, $927,370 inclusive of GST. We make the payment to ACT Government, and then ACT Government makes the payment to the school, and I understand the payment went to the school on the 13th of February.
Thank you. And so your understanding is that the school received the $927,000 on Feb, and then a week later couldn't afford to pay staff on Friday the 21st of February.
That's what we understand from the media reports, yes, and the information that the Independent Education Union has also made public.
Do you have any concerns about how funds provided by the department have been spent by the school, given the multi-million-dollar tax debt that the ATO alleges has been accrued, and the apparent admission from the board chair in correspondence to staff and parents yesterday that they are, and I quote, approximately $1 million short for the month of February?
Senator, there are a number of things that concern us about that. That's why we have written to the board around to remind them that Commonwealth recurrent funding can't be used for litigation. We are concerned that they cannot. They are reporting not to be able to meet their obligations. You'd be aware from my testimony previously that we have compliance action afoot from the Australian Government. That compliance action continues to proceed. and we have consistently expressed a concern about the entity, particularly around governance, matters of fit and proper persons, and their failure to meet their reporting obligations to us.
Have any matters regarding the school or its board been referred to the AFP?
Not from the Department of Education that I'm aware of.
I'm aware of.
Do you or any other regulatory body have the power to appoint an administrator to take over control of the school's finances on an interim basis, or otherwise install more responsible governance arrangements?
There are a number of regulators involved with the school at the moment. Those regulators are operating independently based on the information that is available to them. Certainly, if a regulator has available to them the opportunity to appoint an administrator, then that's something that would be available to them. It's not something that usually the Department of Education would exercise. We have written to the school in January with an update on our views about our compliance action, and we're awaiting a response from the school to that correspondence.
Will a forensic audit of the school's finances be undertaken?
Senator, because the school has not furnished us with updated financial reports, that would usually form part of our action, but our delegate, they will make a decision based on the information available to them, and if they're satisfied that information gives them the information they need to make a decision by way of affirming a sanction or taking a different sanction, then that's what they will do.
And what's the timeline for that? I guess one of the things I hear from parents is that they're incredibly frustrated about, there's been concerns raised for, I think, about a decade. For 5 years, the department has been involved. Your parents who love the school want to keep sending their children to the school, and yet there's a glacial pace at which things seem to move. What's the hold-up here?
So, Senator, I absolutely appreciate the impact that uncertainty has had on the school community and the staff. In January, our delegate issued a notice to the school of their intention to commence a revocation of the approved authority status. So what that means is the delegate was of a mind that they had a preliminary view that the school has not complied with their requirements under the Act, and as a result they were proposing to make a decision to revoke the school's approved authority status. That correspondence with the school, we have asked them to respond by early March. I think it's the 7th of March. The school has come back to us and sought an extension. The delegate's considering whether they will provide an extension to that. So I hear what you're saying about the time it's taken. I absolutely appreciate the impact and the uncertainty, but our delegate has moved to the next step.
Thank you. And given the uncertainty, apart from sending a letter, an email to the board asking them to relay things to the parents and teachers, what steps have been taken to ensure the safety and continuity of education for students at the school?
So we've engaged with the ACT Education Directorate, specifically around that. Ms Mitchell, who is our head of compliance in the department, she has been engaging with the head of compliance in the ACT. I've had a number of discussions with the Director General of the Education Directorate about this very issue to ensure. I think it's clear, certainly from the two education departments, that the forefront of our mind is about the continuity of education.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if the ACT Directorate has the ability to contact teachers and parents directly?
Senator, I'm not aware what they would have available to them.
Okay.
I mean, they could ask the school to distribute that on their behalf.
As you have.
So Senator, just for clarity, what I did is I asked them to provide supports and reach out. I did not provide them with communication and asked them to distribute that communication.
Okay,
that is something that we could consider.
And is it correct that there can be a way to access emergency funding from the department to support a school in distress? Is that correct?
So, Senator, we have a range of mechanisms available to us. One of them is special circumstances funding. Each one of those, we would look at the merits of the individual case. This school receives from the Australian Government $10 million a year. Schools of similar size have had no issues meeting their obligations to both staff, but also to ensure a high-quality education is delivered.
If there was a circumstance where there was an interim board or a liquidator arrangement, could the department step in to help pay wages and keep the school running?
We would, Senator, we would look at what we had available to us. I think the guiding principle for us is continuity of education for those students. So we would look at whatever flexibility and options we had available to us, as I'm sure the ACT government would as well. And we'll work through, if such a circumstance were to arise, that's exactly what we'd work through.
Thank you. I really appreciate your work on this, and I just want to put on the record how many concerned members of the school community I've heard from who just really want this resolved. I think there's been some fairly wild allegations about school takeovers and the like. I think that the focus very much has to be on continuity of education, ensuring that the school can continue with good governance and good financial management. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks very much.